Well, good afternoon. This is Marcia Burr coming at you from Williston, Florida on a beautiful fall day in Florida. And I have no internet connection at home on my desktop, so I'm playing with my stupid smartphone today, which is really a camera. So I'm making a video that is in selfie mode, which is something I really don't do with my phone because I have a webcam on my desktop. Anyway, I want to share a little story with you today. I taught a Qigong class in Bronson this morning. It felt really good. We're working on some one finger Zen Qigong. And after that, I had 2 cardiology appointments back to back. They were imaging studies. And this actually came as a result of last week when I was teaching my Qigong class. I noticed afterward that I had a little bit of chest pain, like right where my stent is. And being a medical person, I know enough to pay attention to things, and having worked in the ER, I'm pretty good at triaging what an emergency is compared to something that I might call terminal hangnail. One of the worst things I think people can do is try to diagnose themselves using Google, because then you end up with every illness and weird thing you ever heard of in the book. So I did decide that, yes, this is something I needed to pay attention to, even though I thought it was just maybe a strained muscle, because I've done that before, an intercostal rib muscle here. I actually tore it doing caregiving for Gaydana, lifting her in and out of bed. And that's why I went to the ER right after Gaydana died, because I'd been having chest pain for a month. And it happened to be the pain was right where my stent is, which was, I think, Gaydana telling me, you better go to the ER and start taking care of yourself, Marcia. And so I heeded the call, and it turned out I tore rib muscles and my stent was fine. However, now my stent, it's in my LAD, coronary artery, is 12 years old, and I'm 64. And regardless of whether I think it's muscular or a cardiac issue, doesn't really matter. It's something I need to pay attention to. So I proceeded to do so. And if you think about it anyway, the heart is just a big muscle anyway. So yeah, it's kind of muscular, but it has to do with electric rhythms and circulation of your blood and oxygen intake and all of that, because it's all connected. So today I went and had these 2 studies done, and I want to brag a little bit about my team of cardiologists, because I can tell they really love what they do, and I love to see that in the medical field. I loved what I did working in the ER, but it can still cause burnout, especially if you don't take care of yourself. So this is a message to the whole world, not just dementia caregivers, which really need to take care of themselves first. But anyway, these people were great. They had a great sense of humor. And the funny part of this whole thing is that when I went in initially, there was a doctor in the back room, and I could hear him talking, and I had to kind of laugh at myself as I'm listening, because he's back there grousing, like only doctors know how to do, about, well, this is off. I'm supposed to be doing readings and reports for Wednesday, and I'm doing Tuesdays. What happened? And so the tech that was talking to me, taking care of me as a patient, said, well, the other doctor just got confused, and he did Wednesdays instead of Tuesdays, and that's why now you're doing Tuesdays, but it's all working out in the wash, and really it's rather a luxury problem anyway. And when she said that, oh man, I wanted to just bust out laughing and give her a high five, because, doctors are people too. They're human beings. They're not little gods. They don't know everything. although they know a lot, and sometimes when you know stuff, it's like a lot, but it could still be dangerous, especially if you think you know it all. So these people did a really good job today. They scheduled both of my appointments back to back, and they were big, long studies. One was a stress test, a nuclear medicine study where they inject you with a tracer and something that excites your heart, and then they take 4 series of tomograms, images, and that took 3 hours. But right after that, I got scheduled for my echocardiogram, which is not the EKG thing you think of when you go to the ER and they hook you up to the machine and you see the piece of paper with the little heartbeat lines on it. No, this is an ultrasound exam, and it takes an hour to do. So I spent the day in the medical field, being a patient instead of a giver of care, and it was actually a fun day. I'm curious to see now the results of my tests. I asked them to burn me some discs because I'm a visual person and I'm a retired x-ray tech and I want to see them. And now the next cool thing about this team, my follow-up appointment is Monday. I talked to someone from the team that's going to tell me the results of my studies, which includes a stent that I just had put in my iliac artery a month ago because my big right toe was turning purple, and I know from being an ER x-ray tech that the next color would be black if I didn't do something about it. It was a circulation problem, and I had not enough oxygen to my toe, and if I didn't do anything about it, they would amputate it. Well, I'm rather attached to my toes, so that's what started a lot of this heart procedure this year, and I'm really rather thankful for it because last year I went through the motions. I had a study done. My stent was fine, but my cardiologist was kind of blasé. It's like, meh, do it or don't, meh. And I really love this team because they've motivated me to improve my health, to be proactive about what I'm doing. And the interesting thing to me about both of these studies involved breathing. And that's what I teach in Qigong and Tai Chi. So I got to practice some really good breathing techniques for 4 hours today while I was doing these studies. And I noticed a difference from a year ago, my breathing, and how much better I am at controlling my breath and how long I pause and how deeply I inhale, and inhaling from my diaphragm rather than from up in the top of my lungs. So today was a good day. That's my little story. It's a medical aside. I also got to tell one of the techs that was taking care of me my favorite of all-time favorite doctor jokes, and I'll leave you with this. This man was driving to work one day, and he gets in a car accident, and he dies. And the next thing he knows, he's up in, he didn't know where. He was in some line waiting, and there was some confusion around him. And finally, after waiting, quite a while in this line with other people talking around him, he gets up and he could see he was at the pearly gates. So it must be heaven. And there was St. Michael at the gates holding this clipboard with notes and a pen. And he looked kind of harangued, like, this wasn't a good working day for him or something. And so he finally gets up to see St. Pete, and St. Pete looks up at him and says, "Hello, welcome to heaven. Do you have your paperwork?" And the guy's like really confused now. First of all, he just died suddenly in a car accident, and next thing you know, he's in like a line, like he's in rush hour traffic, but it's human traffic, and it's a bunch of souls going to heaven. So he's like, "What do you mean paperwork? I didn't know you needed paperwork to get into heaven." And St. Michael looks at him and he says, "Yeah, there's been a mix-up today, and that's why we have these long lines. Just hold on a second. Wait here. I'll be right back." So St. Pete starts walking down this brightly lit long hallway. And at the end of the hallway is a door. So he knocks on the door, waits a minute, knocks again. Finally, some But he opens the door really quick, and it's this guy. He's got a lab coat on. He's got a stethoscope around his neck, and you know, you couldn't hear the conversation, but the body language spoke loudly. And so St. Pete is asking him, like, is this guy down there supposed to be in heaven? Is he in the right line? And you could see, this doctor looking down and going, yes, he's supposed to be here. And then he turns around abruptly and he slams the door shut in St. Peter's face. St. Peter walks back on down this hallway, back up to the pearly gates, and there's this guy standing there, and St. Pete goes, yeah, you're here, everything's in proper order, so come on in, welcome to heaven. And now the guy's like really confused. He goes, wait a minute, who was that guy down there that you were talking to? And St. Pete goes, oh, that was God. He thinks he's a doctor. That's it. Y'all have a good evening.